All right, well, it doesn't seem like anyone's joined us in the last minute or two, so I guess we'll get started, and then I'll catch up with anyone else who isn't with us later. So I wanted to go over two main things. First is I wanted to review the new simplified new membership form. I sent out an email with it yesterday that went over the basics of it, but I know a couple people had questions, so I wanted to make sure you have an opportunity, since you'll be using it very intensively over the next couple of weeks, to give you an opportunity to ask any questions, make sure that everything looks right to you. We've done a bunch of iterations with Steve Davis and Ron Heck and everyone, but it may be that there's things that we missed anyway. So that's the first thing we'll do, and then we'll talk about e-signature. A couple of you have seen it or used it already, but it was used only a little bit in the last couple of weeks with a couple people. Now we're going to be rolling it out to all of you, so you'll get the opportunity to use it and to see how it'll make your life a lot easier and faster. We now have it set up so you can send faxes, emails, and no matter what kind of document the customer wants to get, you can use Docusign. So that's what we'll be doing today, and we'll start with the new membership form. So on the email I sent over the weekend, this is kind of the same information. The most important thing that we did is just to simplify it and get rid of a lot of the unnecessary fields and unnecessary words. I mean, you guys are more familiar with it than I am, but I just thought it was interesting. On the first 2 pages, we used to ask for the legal name 5 different times, and that's in addition to the shop name. So it's nice that we were able to get rid of a couple of those added fields and reduce the number of pages that actually need the customer's input from 3 down to 1. So now you'll have a Form A that has all the fields and all the information that the customer needs to fill out to become a member. And then the addendum will still contain all the legalese that used to be on Form B, but there won't be any more fields that need to be filled out on what used to be Form B that's now the Form A addendum. Everything is now on Form A, including the fields from Form B and also the Dove Plus application. By the way, I did hear a couple extra people come on the call. If those people aren't already on the webinar, if you could sign on to the webinar and so you can see my screen, that would be great. So there's a couple simple ways that the change affects you. Now the customers only really need to worry about Form A. I do want to mention we do want to make sure they get the addendum also. It's when we print the copies, the addendum will be on the back, so you won't even have to remember to give it to them. But when you do email it to them, please remember to email a copy of both PDFs. In Docusign, it'll automatically send both. But when you do send those emails, just please make sure to send both. And then the other thing is that we really want to make sure. Sorry, hold on one second.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to see if you got that access file.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. So the other thing I want to make sure, because we kind of put them out of the way because they're not important to the customer, is the 2 important fields for the Dove Plus application that are now on Form A. So the 2 important pieces of information that you were collecting from Dove Plus were the campaign code, that number that was like a MAR 14D, for example. So that's going to go on the bottom left-hand corner of the new Form A. So right now you'll see does everyone see the completed Form A on the screen? I want to make sure everyone got into the webinar okay.
Yep. Yes.
All right, great. So on the bottom left-hand corner where it says campaign code is where you'll put the Dove Plus application code. And then on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll put which POS they use for the purposes of their Dove Plus application. So those were really the only 2 pieces of information, it turned out, on the Dove Plus application that really mattered. So we're bringing those over here, and they are kind of out of the way, but the reason I did that is since they're not important to the customer, I was really trying to make it most simple and easy to read for the customer, and I know that probably makes it a little bit more difficult for you because it's just kind of hidden at the bottom, but it's easier for the customer, and I think it's still pretty easy once you get the hang of it.
What do we do if they don't have a POS system? Where we put in that box there?
Honestly, I'm not exactly sure. What would you have put before on the Dove Plus application?
Dove Plus. Dove Plus, exactly right.
Okay.
I assume where it says Dove Point of Sale, we'll just change that and put Dove Plus.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. Yeah, so nothing's going to change. There's not like a new piece of information we're asking for. I might have named the field in maybe not the best way. I'll talk to them and maybe we'll change the naming of that. But basically, whatever you were putting on that form before, just put the exact same thing here. And if it sounds like it's something a little bit different or you're confused that it doesn't sound the same, just let me know and we'll straighten it out. But there shouldn't be anything new or anything different than you were already putting on the Dove Plus application. And the only other thing is just you'll make sure that they sign both fields like they did before. So that's not different, it's just in a different place. And we combine them both into one box to save a little space visually, and that way we can get them both onto this one page. But it's just the same as before, signed twice. One question I did have for you guys, there are only 2 guarantor spaces on this form, and we can make another one that has 4. It gets a lot more cluttered when we add more. Is that something that you guys run into a lot? Maybe should we make one as a backup that you guys will have and be able to print out if you need it? Do you see much that has more than 2 guarantors? Anyone?
Usually not, especially on corporations or LLCs if you have more than multiple partners.
Okay, so
Could we, in the past, Daniel, personal reference, is that necessary?
So we reduced the number of personal references from 2 to 1 because it's Ron Heck said it's preferred but not required. I mean, basically what it is that if we really end up having to chase them down for money and we can't find them, then that's sometimes like another way we can find them. It doesn't happen very often. It only happens of the people we really have to pursue and we can't find them. But he asked me if we could keep one field on there, and since he already let me take one of the 2 personal references off, I didn't push him too hard on it.
But it's still not mandatory, correct?
Correct. Yes, correct. For both the personal reference and the bank reference are requested but not required. So if you can get it, that's great. It'll really help us, but definitely don't hold up an application for either of those fields. And then on the e-signature version of the form, I also added a note field at the bottom. So if there's any additional notes you wanted to add to it, you can add, if there's a customer request or a problem. I'm sorry, can you hold on 1 second? Oh, Ricky's asking. Yeah, no, it is, but I added Snapdragon to it. So can you look on the Snapdragon? Yeah. Sorry. Ricky was calling to Michelle to get the information for the call. All right, so we're back to the form. Did anyone have any other questions about the Dove Plus fields or the signature fields or any other changes on the form? Great.
Will the Form D for change of ownerships, will it be on the Docusign too as well, Daniel?
It will be. It actually will be shortly. Right now, if you want it to be right away for a certain customer you need, I can add it tonight if it's urgent.
So that the seller and the buyer side on the Form.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's just an idea.
No, it's a good idea. I'll make sure that's there for the blitz. So I'm just making a note. For blitz. Okay. I'll make sure that happens. And by the way, we will be redoing Form C and D and the credit card form also, but for now, we're going to go with what we have just because it'll take another couple weeks to finish the legal and design changes. It seemed like there was a little bit less room for improvement on Form C and Form D, and the credit card form is going to take a little more work with legal. But we will be making these similar changes to all the forms to help simplify it and make it a little bit cleaner and hopefully reduce the number of forms that you guys have to fill out. Any other questions before we move on? All right, great. So that's it with Form A. Now we'll move on to Docusign and e-signature. So e-signature in general is something we're definitely going to be going with in the future. make your life a lot easier, help you close more contracts, save you time. It's going to be really great. Docusign is the partner that we've chosen to go with after doing a lot of testing. There are other solutions out there, but most of them have features that aren't as great. And you'll see Docusign has some really helpful ways to remind customers to sign contracts. So, you all saw right now when you got a contract that I sent out. I'm not sure if all of you have had a chance to sign it yet, but once you receive a contract from Docusign that's already filled out, signing it is as easy as, I didn't actually count the clicks, but it's somewhere between 3 to 5 clicks of your mouse with no actual typing or anything else required. So this will be much, much, much easier than having a florist have to print out. Even if you fill out all the forms and scan it in ahead of time, this will be much easier than them having to print out and sign and then scan back in and resend you the forms. So it'll be much, much easier for customers to submit applications. And also, you won't have to wonder whether the application was sent in. You won't have to call customer service and ask whether they got the application yet, or call the shop and ask whether they got your fax, because you'll be able to see everything instantaneously through your Docusign application. You'll get automatic notification emails when your shop opens the email as well as when they sign it. So you'll know whether they didn't get it yet or whether they got it and opened it. And they just haven't completed it yet, or whether they got partway through but haven't finished it. So that way you'll know what kind of problem to solve, whereas right now you're kind of in the dark and have to call the shop and say, well, did you get the email, or did you get my fax? Do you have any questions about it? Now you'll know, and you'll know without having to ask. So you can be preemptive and call them and remind them to send it in, or maybe remind them to check their junk email folder because they haven't even opened their email yet, etc. So you'll see as we go through the Docusign process that not only does it give you the visibility to be able to remind the shops more easily than you have to now and to give you better information to do those reminders, but it also has the ability to set up automatic reminders for you to send to the shops. So what that means is that as a default, I have it set up so that when you send a contract, the shop will get an automatic email notification in 2 days if they don't sign the contract by then. You can add additional notifications, and I'll show you how. But basically, you can use Docusign. We don't want to be annoying, but we can use Docusign to help remind our customers to sign these contracts and hopefully close some more of the open contracts. I know that in our last blitz, we had about 250 contracts that were sent out to shops, and 103 were sent back and signed. And I'm definitely not saying that all of those would have signed if we'd had e-signature, but if we can make it, everything we can do to make it easier and faster and more simple for these shops to sign, the higher likelihood we have of closing those shops. And we left 150 shops kind of somewhat on the table just in the last blitz. So in my mind, whether it's simplifying the forms or e-signature, every single thing we can do to make this process easier is going to get us at least 1 or 2 more shops. So that brings me to kind of the other thing I wanted to explain, that not only is e-signature going to be great because of the features I'm going to show you now, but this is just the start. Once we really roll this out and start using what I'm going to show you right now, down the line there'll be additional really awesome features that will help save you even more time. So in phase 2, hopefully we'll get to later this year. My goal is October, but definitely by December. And it really depends on how much you help push Docusign now, that we'll be able to automatically populate the forms with data from Lawson. So that would mean that instead of, for a credit card application, having to fill out the customer shop address again and the phone again and the email address again, you can just type in the customer number and it'll automatically populate all the fields. Or that the same thing would happen for eFlorist. So what I'm showing you now is going to save you a lot of time and help you close more deals, but by helping push it now, you'll help me get to the point in the future where we can help make it even more automated and easy for you.
Will it apply an electric shock every 10 minutes until they sign the document?
Yeah. No, but that's a great feature. We'll put that in phase 3.
Hey, Daniel, does the customer, or does it require them to log into Docusign in order to sign it?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, not at all. So I don't know if you got the email yet. I just sent out emails right before the meeting happened, like a sample contract to each of you, so you can see what it's like. But basically, you get an email that has a short message that I was able to customize. It has a link to view the document. Once you click the link, you're already logged in, because by having logged into their email, they consider you identified as that person because of your email access. So you just automatically see the form, click sign, click send, and you're done. Any other questions before we go on? All right, so I sent all of you a Docusign contract already. Did everyone get that so far? Or did anyone not get it, I guess is a better question. Great. It says there's 13 out for signature, though, so I can check and see and make sure everyone's telling me the truth. That's the nice thing about these. Oh, well, you know, we won't go through this now. That'll take too long. But if anyone didn't get it and wants a chance to see what it's like, you'll be able to log in and send one later. That's what we're going to do in a minute. But I want to make sure that every one of you experiences what it's like to receive it, because that way, if a customer has any questions, you'll be able to answer them. And I'll show you why I think it's actually really easy to troubleshoot any questions that customers have. There's only one thing you really need to explain to them. But I'll walk you through right now what it's like to send and what it's like to receive a Docusign contract. So,
can they do all this on their smartphone?
yes. There is a Docusign app, and you can download the Docusign app, and you can send contracts from your phone. That's a little less easy to use than the web interface. So I figured we'd start people on the web interface, and once they got a little accustomed to that, we'd teach the phone app. But there's no reason you couldn't send a pre-filled out contract from your phone directly to a customer by email or fax. So this is the screen that you'll get when you log into Docusign. What's that?
I said I sent mine back. I just want to make sure it's just a free trial,
Oh,
though.
well, don't worry. We won't charge your card for another 7 days.
Thank you.
So I sent you all out a manual that walks through this step by step. So if you have any questions later, you can always refer to it. But what we're walking through now is going to be the same thing that's in that manual. But if you have any questions while we're going through it, please cut me off and ask, because I've done this a lot, and I want to make sure I included everything that someone who's new to it needs to know. So the only button you really need to concern yourself with at this point, because we haven't set up any dashboards or reports, is this send button right in the top middle portion. Once you push send, the next button you would push is choose an online document. And under shared templates, you'll see a number of applications. The one we're looking at right now is the Form A plus addendum. But you'll see we already have a credit card enrollment form, eFlorist, new membership. Well, that's actually the sample one I was using that was already pre-filled out. And then a Form C. And by the time the blitz starts, we'll also add Form D. But we're just going to do Form A plus addendum. And I think to keep it simple, that's what we should practice today. So when we do our practice and everyone sends them, I'd like everyone to be sending me the Form A plus addendum. So once you check off which one you add, and by the way, again, not for now, but you can check off multiple. So if you did want to send a couple different contracts at the same time, you can do a package of multiple contracts. But for now, we'll just do a new membership Form A plus addendum and push add. And you'll see that there's 2 pages. If you put your mouse over it, it pops up so you can kind of see what's on it. And you'll see it's a blank Form A and an addendum. And the only thing that you need to do, there's some other things that are optional, but the only thing that you need to do is to put in the email information and name for the recipient. So I'm going to send this to me, to my personal email. Actually, you know what? Let me send it to my role email address so you can see what that's like. Or you know what? I have faster Teleflora email access. So right now, I could go down to the bottom here and push send, and it would be fine, but then I'd be sending the customer a blank contract. And I know that for a lot of reasons, we like to fill out contracts before we send it to the customer. It makes it a lot easier. So I'll show you now how to go through the process of filling out the application for them. But if you wanted to at this point, you could already push send now, and it would send out a blank contract to the customer. There's also the opportunity in this section over here to customize an email. Right now, the subject of the email is just going to say Teleflora new membership application. And the email can say, you know, Dear Daniel, thanks for joining Telefora. And the nice thing is that you can put your contact information, so if they have any questions, in case they forget your contact information, they'll have it. Then at the bottom, it has an opportunity for you to customize the reminders. So if you remember before, I was saying you'll get the automatic reminder in 2 days via email. I'm sorry, that the shop will get the automatic reminder in 2 days via email, but that there aren't any subsequent automatic reminders set up. So you could have an automatic reminder every 1 day after that. That's probably super annoying. You might want to do it every 3 days. You might want to do it not at all. That's up to you. You know how much you like to know your customer. Totally up to you. If you want to change this and take off reminders, you can just uncheck that box and take off reminders.
So is it possible to do it reminder less than 24 hours?
I don't see a way to do that, but I will check. Yeah, I think the first reminder you'll be able to send is at 1 day. Okay. But I'll check and let you know. Any other questions before we move on to filling out the form? Okay. So then to fill out the form, again, you could just push send now if you wanted to send a blank form. But if you push next, you'll get to fill out all the form fields. So now, I mean, it's just like exactly the same as the form that I already emailed you. And you can just go through the fields and fill them out. And I could walk you through filling out all these fields, but that would be kind of a waste of all of our time. But I can show you kind of what all the different pieces look like. So the one thing that's different on the e-signature form than on the paper form that I want to point out, and it won't really come into play here, but I'll show you what it's like to receive the document, and you'll see why it's important. So the one difference is for attachments. So if someone's submitting a resale certificate or submitting LLC documents or corporate documents, all they have to do is click on this box right here, and then it'll take them to a place where they can upload attachments. There's no more difference than that, but since on a paper version you just tell them, please attach the corporate documents, that's not necessary here. We have a little box that says check here for uploading attachments. That's the only place in which this form is different than the paper form. Other than that, you would just go through and populate this form exactly like you would any paper form that you're populating right now. Then when you get to the bottom, you'd make sure to put in the Dove Plus code and which POS system they're using, or if they just want Dove Plus. And then you push send. And it says, do you want to preview it? So we can see what it looks like to preview. After you get used to it, you probably just want to send, but this is what it's going to look like. It looks like exactly what you just filled out with your campaign code and Dove Plus code. And you'll see there's a notes field on the bottom. The reason I put that there is because I've heard from different people like that, they put sometimes various notes on that form. For example, if they can't get a physical copy of the resale certificate, but they get the number and they want to write it in, you could write in resale certificate number, whatever. Basically, this is my field for we forgot something and you need to put extra information on the form. Eventually, I think we'd probably like to take it off because we'd like to capture everything in a field that we kind of define. But with the other notes field, at least for now, if you have anything that it turns out we missed on this go-round, you can always add in information like the resale certificate number or something we haven't thought of, whatever it is.
Another example would be if it's a reinstate and they would like their previous shop code.
Oh, yeah, a perfect example. So I wouldn't have thought of that, and I'll put that as a note to add later, but for now you can just add it to the other notes section. Any questions before we move on? So once you've filled it out, it's super easy. You just hit send. And it says, it's good. I'm glad I caught this. So it says your envelope is incomplete. Some recipients have incomplete information. So this is the one thing that I think is good to walk through, and it's good we found that error so you can see what the error looks like, because it is the one thing that I've heard people make a mistake on once or twice until they get used to it. So this is because we wanted to have one form that had the option of having either one guarantor or two guarantors. So if you only have one guarantor and it's the shop owner signing both, then it's really easy. All you have to do is delete this guarantor by pushing that little X. If you have a second owner that also needs to sign, it's also easy. All you have to do is add them to it. So right now it would go to both. Or if there is no second owner, you just click X, and it says you're deleting recipient. All tags for this recipient will be deleted, and you select yes. And that deletes the signature box on the form for the second guarantor. So it's a little bit complicated in the idea of it, but what you do about it is really easy. Either you click the X or you fill out the second guarantor. And now we can push send now because we know we already filled out all the fields. And the contract is sent. And you'll see in about probably 5 to 10 seconds I'll get an email. There it is. That's how fast it is, so you don't need to worry like this. There is no faster way to get a contract over to your customer. Then we can, just through a link here without signing in, just view document. And then it opens up straight to the document. So this is the way the document comes up. It's really simple and easy. You can see it's already filled out, but the customer can change any of this information. So if the phone number is wrong or the website's wrong, they can still edit it. And the thing that I really love about Docusign that makes it so easy for customers is that no matter what stage of the process they're at, no matter where they're getting confused, if they do get confused, and by the way, we've done 10 contracts so far, and we've only had one customer that I think really had a problem. So the only thing you need to ever tell them to do is look at this big yellow box on the left-hand side. So anytime that you look at that big yellow box on the left-hand side, it tells you exactly what to do, and if you click on it, it takes you there. So if the customer feels like, okay, I'm looking at the contract, what do I do? All you do is click on that little yellow box. And you'll see when I click on that little yellow box, even if I zoom to the bottom part of the contract to read the addendum, if I click on my yellow box, it brings me back to the signature box. If I go to the top and make some changes, again, it takes me back to the signature box. And you'll see here, if I click to add attachments, it takes me back to the signature box, and it also adds this little button for attachments. Now, to sign it, once you get to that signature box, it's super easy. You just click the button, and it signs it for you. So if you haven't signed something before, then it also pops up a box and asks you if you like the way that your signature is designed, and it gives you like a pre-designed signature. So there is one more click if you haven't already signed something through Docusign before, but it's literally only one extra click, and once you've already signed one thing, the rest is saves you that one click. So you'll see that yellow box turns to attach, and it gives me the opportunity to add my attachment. I can either send it by fax, or I can choose a file to upload from my computer. So no matter whether these people are really technologically savvy or not technologically savvy at all, there's a way through Docusign to make it easier for them. Or if it turns out we don't want that attachment, all we have to do is uncheck that to add the attachment, and now it says all fields are complete. And just to show you what that looks like, we can take away our signature, and now it takes away the confirm signing box and says we have to sign again. So once we've completed all the signature forms, though, this yellow box changes to confirm signing. Any questions before I confirm signing?
Can we use this for an update application too? Because I never know when to get that put on top that's changed address and changed zip codes, or do we have to send an update in? Will we use this as well?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, and then I'll talk to Lisa just to make sure that we let them know that'll be what you use, and we don't need that other form anymore. But at least by the time the blitz starts, go ahead and do that.
And the sizing can be increased, correct?
The sizing?
Yes, it'll go above 100%.
Oh yeah. Oh, to make it bigger, yeah. So here's 150 or 250. Or by the way, you can download it. So if they want to download it, and now you have a copy of the PDF. They'll also get a copy when they sign it. But if you're talking about like just reading the fine print, you can download it, or you can. There's a print button. There's lots of options. You can sign on paper. Lots of great options.
Do we have the updated offer as an option on the Docusign documents?
Nope, but I will add it in time for the Blitz.
Okay. And is that something that we can customize?
So right now you're choosing between a variety of different options and customizing how many months they get, right?
Right. I mean, just if we wanted to just kind of break away from that completely and then consolidate that information in our own way, would that be a possibility to just have a blank form to attach to these Docusign documents to reference the offer?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of like an expanded version of the note field at the bottom.
Yeah.
And an additional note form. Okay. Any other questions? Those are both good comments. I like it. All right. So once you've signed it, you just click Confirm Signing, and you're done. So now it's asking me to log in, but that's only after I've already completed it. And you'll see in my email box, both you and the customer will have gotten a copy of the completed contract. It happens that I have a lot of them sitting in my email box right now because I have all the contracts that you guys just signed, but I think this is the one that I just signed. Excuse me. So you'll see, like, within less than 10 seconds, I got a copy of my signed contract, and me being the customer, and you being the rep will have also gotten a copy of it. So the process takes a lot less time than trying to wait for someone to get a fax, and you have to check whether Steve Davis's team got it or whether they sent it to you. This will hopefully save a lot of time, and you'll never have like a busy fax signal to block this from coming through. So one other thing I wanted to show you, which I think is helpful, is I've heard from a number of people that one problem is that some customers don't like getting on an email or want to sign on paper, something like that. So one neat feature DocuSign has is that it can accept faxes also. So that may sound a little weird at first because it's e-signature, but the idea is that e-signature is not just about like clicking to add to the signature. It's about the whole process of how you send it, how you can track it, how it automatically sends you a PDF so you have an archive with it. So I'll show you really quickly how we do a fax, and then if you have any customers that only want to transact via fax, you'll be able to send them a fax just as easily. So if you send a fax, it's the exact same process. You'll see I just click Send, then choose an online document, then My Shared Templates, then Form A. And the only difference is instead of adding the email address, for method of delivery, I just select fax. And then on the fax number, I add the fax number and the name I want it to go to. And if I don't have a guarantor, like we discussed before, I can just take off the guarantor field, or second guarantor, that is. And now I can just send it. I'm not going to go through the filling out a form already because we did that, but you can just send it now, and it's now been sent via fax. And I can show you what that looks like and how that works, because it sounds a little confusing just to say you'll send it via fax, because you actually don't want that customer to fax it back to you personally. When we send that fax, it goes out with a cover letter already made, and the customer just has to send it back using that customized cover letter. So here's a copy of one that I did before. Hold on one second. I sent it to myself and we scanned it in, but you'll see this is the cover letter that comes. It comes with a copy of the application that you'll have already filled out. But it comes with this cover letter that has a fax number on it right here. And if they fax it back to this number on the cover letter, then it automatically goes back to your email just like they signed it via email. So even if they don't have an email to send it to, you can still use DocuSign to send a fax and to receive the fax so that you can have it all stored in that same place, automatically get copies of the PDFs, and have everything nicely stored and automatically taken care of for you. And that's kind of the same thing that happens when, if you saw before, there was the option to sign on paper. So one of the other possibilities is you may have a customer that has email, but just really doesn't feel comfortable with the idea of e-signature. Maybe they're kind of old school, or whatever it is. They're paranoid about technology. Maybe they think the NSA is watching their contracts or something like that. I'll show you what that looks like. So you'll see, by the way, that was just how fast it was to send a contract. Again, I didn't fill out any of the fields, which is probably not the way you want to do it. But just in terms of the actual sending process, it's less than 5 seconds to send a contract once you have the fields filled out properly. So now if I'm the kind of customer who's a little bit old school and wants to sign on paper, and I get this contract, there's an option at the top under More that says Sign on Paper. And now if I click Sign on Paper, I can either print and scan and upload, which is kind of annoying, or probably what I want to do, if I want to sign it, I want to fax it back in. So I can print and fax it. It gives me a PDF that looks exactly like the one I just showed you, and you'll see it gives some directions. It just says, write the number of pages below and fax the document to that 855 number. So the customer will have, the application already ready to go. You'll have filled it out already for them. All they'll do is sign it, add the number of pages, fax it back to that 855 number, and it'll automatically come back to you via email. Anyone have questions on faxing? All right. So back to the presentation, and we're almost done. So we'll probably end a little bit early, or if people have Q&A at the end, we can do a little bit more of that, or do another couple practices. So 3 tips, I think, after using this for a month and a half, we've summarized to make sure things go well. One is that, from anytime you send an email from a new company, sometimes it goes to junk. It doesn't happen often. I'd say this happens about 1 out of every 10 customers. But 1 out of every 10 times we get a customer who, instead of getting the email themselves, it goes to junk. So if a customer says that they didn't get the contract, it's almost for sure in junk. So that's the first thing to remind them to do. And I'll send you a copy of this presentation, by the way, later, so you can have a copy of this with you in case you have any questions. So the second one is, as we were discussing before, when the customer is actually looking at a given contract, if they're a little bit lost or a little confused, the easiest thing to do, and the really only thing you'll need to do at all, is tell them, look for the yellow button and press it. Because as long as you filled out the application for them ahead of time, all they need to do is sign it, and that yellow button takes them directly to the signature box. They sign it, and they're done. So, if you do the job of filling out the form, the only thing you'll ever need to remember to tell the customer is look for and press the yellow button. The third thing is that, I'm really dedicated to making this thing work and making it a success, and making it easy not just for you now, but having it make your lives successively easier as we go forward. So if there's anything you need, or you have a question, or a customer has a question, call me any time of day on my cell phone. If I'm in a meeting, I won't be able to pick up, but I can text you right back and call you back within half an hour. I'd be happy to spend time with you on the phone, with the customer on the phone. I mean, I don't expect it to require any of that, because I think for the most part this is a really simple process, and we'll have, if anything, it'll help us get a lot more contracts back and not have as many problems. But if there is any trouble you have while you're still getting used to the system, please call me anytime. So, sorry, go ahead. Did someone have a question? I really think this is great. It's going to make our life a lot easier. Good. I'm glad you think so. And look, every new tool takes a couple tries to get used to, and that's actually why it's a good segue to the last slide, which is, I hope it doesn't sound like I'm just giving you homework, but I really think that after you've used it like 2 or 3 times, this will be like the easiest thing you've ever used. So I really would like each of you who are going to be using this in the Blitz to send me 3 completed sample contracts in the next 24 hours. If you need till Wednesday afternoon, that's fine, but basically I wanted it to be by tomorrow afternoon. That way I could bug you on Wednesday if I hadn't gotten it, so we could get them done before the Blitz. So please, if you can, send me them by tomorrow afternoon so I don't have to bug you, because I really think if you do a couple, then it'll make sure that we have everything go smoothly in the Blitz, and we can work out any questions ahead of time, because really the last thing that I want to do is have any trouble with any customer on a real application, and I want to make sure that any questions you have or trouble you have on how to send, we work through in the next 24 hours. And the only other thing is that, I'm sure that as we learn, it'll take a little while to get you to use it for every contract, but between the email and fax function, there really is no reason that we can't use Docusign for every single contract we send out. And we'll, like I said, down the line, we'll start getting a lot of benefits if we start using it intensively now. So think of it not only as a way to make your life easier now, but as an investment you're helping me make to help make your life easier in September. And the last thing is, I hope you guys have all seen, I try and be really good about feedback. You guys are the ones who really encounter life every day trying to sell. So I'm open to any feedback you have about how we can make it a better, easier process. I can't do everything. Not everything is a feature, but anything that I can possibly do or convince someone to let me do, I will. So please let me know if there's any way you think we can make either the form easier or the process easier. I'm really committed to making that happen for you. And if we don't have any questions, then that's it. We ended 15 minutes early.
Hey, Daniel, I've got a question.
Yeah?
Would it be possible to add the change of ownership packets that admin sent out, if we could get that enrolled into this Docusign format? That kind of, I think, creates a little workable scenario. A lot of times when those are sent out, they may or may not be received, or we don't know they were sent out. So I think being able to incorporate those change of ownership packets that are sent out by admin in this process would be helpful as well.
Oh, I see. And to kind of use it as like a sign-off saying, like, yes, I got it.
Yeah, or just to optimize what we're currently doing now, because now, I don't know if you've seen the change of ownership packet, but a lot of times it includes a lot of information they don't need, so that's to improve on as well.
That's a great idea. I'll definitely, you know what, I haven't seen a change of ownership packet. I've only seen the change of ownership form, but I'll take a look at that, and I'll make sure we put that in the queue after the new membership forms are done to incorporate all the change of ownership packet.
Okay.
Daniel, when will we be getting the printed copies of these new contracts?
So I emailed the print-ready versions to Brian Gilliam yesterday, and we're going to have, I think he said either a 50 or 100 sent out to you like ASAP. My guess is that means it gets to you early next week. If I had to take a guess, maybe mid next week. And then we'll have plenty in stock if you ever need more.
And then we don't need the old two-part forms, the old A and Bs, right? Just the Form C?
Correct, just Form C. Yeah, exactly. And we're going to be, on the printed version, the addendum is going to be on the back of Form A, so it'll all just be on that one page.
So will there be a kind of a grace period for apps that are currently out?
Yeah, and I mean, look, if you really want to keep using the old form for the next month or so, I mean, there's nothing bad or wrong about that form. We just want to stop using it because that has that incorrect pricing and it's just too busy. So, yeah, there's definitely a grace period, but we definitely want everyone to start using the new one for any new applications.
Daniel?
Yeah?
I missed the first part because I'm underwires in Vegas and all kinds of stuff. But anyway,
Don't worry about it.
once they sign it and we get the consultation, does it go directly to sales admin so that they can process it?
Yes. So right now it's getting copied directly to me and Lisa. And in the future, once we get through this first blitz, it'll start going directly to Steve Davis's team for immediate processing. Right now, I'm just having it go directly to me and Lisa so we can make sure everything looks okay and there weren't any problems with the DocuSign part of the process.
I think that goes back to Jeff Newland's question. This is Cindy. When we complete the new member offer, there's selection by their choices.
Yes.
So how would you know which choice if it's going to go straight to sales admin?
Oh, well, so for right now, it's going to me and Lisa, and nothing on the application is being processed until you send us the rest of it. So until I get those new forms in DocuSign, it's not going to go directly for processing. It'll go basically to me and Lisa to manually manhandle it and make sure that all the added forms get added and sent over. So I'm kind of putting myself in the middle of the process before it goes directly to kind of sales admin for customer creation, just to make sure that everything goes smoothly in the DocuSign part of it. Did that answer your question? Basically, I'm manually making sure that we get everything we need put together before it gets sent over.
So now we send a new member offer to you?
Yes, you can send it. You can send it to me. I'll put it together with the completed application and send it over to Steve Davis. But by the way, you'll already have the copy of the application sent to you, so you'll have a signed application along with the new member offer. So you'll have like all the different components ready. Then basically, actually, now that I think about it, instead of just sending it to me, you've been sending them to Steve and his team up until now, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you send it to Steve and just copy me on it? So basically, the way it works is you'll send out the application, the customer will sign it. You'll automatically get a PDF of the signed copy back in your email box, and then you'll forward that along with the new member offer and the Form C and anything else you want to Steve, and just copy me. I'll send that out in an email just so everyone's straight, because I hadn't. That's a part of it. I guess we hadn't really talked through before this call, and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. But I think that last way of doing it makes the most sense.
Daniel, this group of blisters is somewhat our beta test. When do we plan on rolling this out to the rest of the TSMs?
So the goal is that by the end of this month, we're signing a contract with Docusign. So we did like kind of an initial beta during the end of the last blitz. We had 10 signed contracts and kind of worked out all the bugs. Now this is like the first kind of full-scale test, just to make sure that, we worked great with 3 people. Now what happens when we do 12? But then by the end of April, we're going to buy licenses for everyone and roll it out with every foreman contract.
Okay. Is it okay for the people on this call to go ahead and share their observations with the other TSMs in their region?
Yeah, definitely, please. Definitely not secret. The only thing I ask is if it's constructive criticism, let me know so I can help fix it.
Daniel?
Yep.
We haven't been sending our applications directly to Steve Davis, like, we've been sending it to the team. So should we send it to Steve first and he'll distribute them, or?
So whatever you were doing, as of yesterday, or I guess as of last week, just do the exact same thing, but with the, e-signed PDF that you'll be getting back in your email box instead of the physically signed document. I think that's the safest. We don't want to change anything. Just when you send them over to whoever you were sending it over to as of last week, just copy me on it.
Okay, we usually just fax it in.
Oh, okay. All right, well, you can do that then. That's fine. If you want, you can email them to Steve and his team, and they'll take care of it. Or if you've been faxing them, just go ahead and fax it, because you'll get the signed contract back in your email box. And really, this is about getting the customer to sign it. And in the future, I mean, look, in the long term, what we want to do is have the information from Docusign fed back directly into Lawson, so the accounts are created without you having to do anything, because that'll minimize any data entry problems or any bottlenecks, and it'll mean that accounts can be created much more quickly. But for now, we don't want the Docusign process to get in the way of anything else that was already working. So if you were faxing in applications and that was working well, just print out the Docusign contract, and you can fax that in with everything else that you need to send in. Any other questions?